Once upon a time in central Italy, there was a civilization known as the Etruscans. They thrived from the 8th to the 3rd century BCE, but their reputation for being a bit lax in warfare doesn't quite tell the whole story. You see, history has a way of being written by those who come out on top, and the Etruscans unfortunately got overshadowed by the rapidly growing Roman Empire. The Etruscans didn't leave behind volumes of written texts like some other ancient civilizations. Instead, we have to piece together their story from bits and pieces of their culture. Think ruins of fortification walls, old weapons, armor, and art that depicts war scenes. And let's not forget the stories passed down by ancient writers. Now, let's dive into the nitty-gritty of Etruscan warfare. Picture this: farmers turning into warriors when duty called. These soldiers, who were essentially citizens, had to cough up their own hard-earned money for equipment. Why? To protect their city-state, expand territory, control trade routes, and grab those necessary resources. It's the classic tale of fighting for what you believe in. When it came to gear, think bronze, breastplates, leg protection, helmets, and those classic round shields. If you're imagining something similar to the Greek hoplites, you're on the right track. But here's a twist: they might have also used hardened leather as body armor. Lighter and more effective, but sadly, leather doesn't stand the test of time like bronze does. Now, the weapons. Bronze spears and double-edged swords were the go-to choices for these warrior farmers. There's this intriguing stele from Vitellonia showing an Etruscan warrior with a double axe. Is it a weapon or a symbol of authority? That's still up for debate. Oh, and don't forget the helmets, some practical, some looking like they walked out of a fancy dress party. One puzzling matter is their use of horses. Bronze horse bits and two-wheeled chariots were found in tombs. Were they war horses, symbols of wealth, or just a comfy ride into the afterlife? The answer remains a mystery. Now, let's delve deeper into how the Etruscans organized themselves for battle and their tactics on the field. But be warned, uncovering their military past isn't a walk in the park, as historian N. Spivey reminds us. The literary evidence is shaky, and we must tread carefully with the iconographical evidence. Relying solely on depictions of warriors on foreign artifacts might lead us astray. Despite these challenges, Roman writings and Etruscan art give us glimpses into their military world. Etruscan warriors, equipped much like the Greek hoplites, likely adopted the famed Greek phalanx formation. Picture this: a solid line of soldiers advancing together, spears pointed forward, shields interlocked. It was a tactic that often settled battles swiftly, with fierce clashes deciding the victor in a single encounter. However, this might not have been the whole story. Early on, when conflicts were between rival cities, they might have favored this phalanx approach. But as time passed, things evolved. Most helmets found were of a simpler bronze bow design, hinting at a more dynamic style of warfare that demanded better visibility and mobility. As for their defenses, many Etruscan cities boasted sturdy walls, protecting them from enemy assaults. These walls weren't just for show. They were strategic barriers, often reinforced with towers and gates, designed to withstand prolonged attacks. Take the siege of Veii, for instance, where the walls held strong against Roman onslaught for a staggering 10 years. When it came to the seas, the Etruscans were no slouches either. Despite a sparse historical record, they were skilled sailors and traders. Their ships, powered by both oars and sails, ruled the waves off the western Italian coast. The Greeks and Romans, envious of their maritime prowess, often dubbed them as pirates, though their maritime activities were likely more about trade than plunder. Legend has it that even the god Dionysus fell victim to their seafaring might, only escaping their clutches by transforming the sailors into dolphins. They weren't confined to just coastal waters either. The Etruscans ventured far and wide, even challenging the might of Carthage in the Mediterranean. But as all good things must come to an end, so did the Etruscan dominance at sea. The rise of Syracuse and a crushing defeat at the Battle of Cumae in 474 BCE marked the beginning of the end of their maritime glory days. As the sun set on the Etruscan horizon, their armies, made up of part-time soldiers, found themselves facing a formidable opponent, the mighty Roman army. Unlike the Etruscans, Rome boasted a professional and tactically dynamic force, drawing on greater resources in both men and equipment. The Etruscan cities, unfortunately, failed to unite against this common threat, proving to be their downfall. Long gone were the days of successful alliances between Etruscan cities, like the joint force that defeated a Phaeacian fleet in 540 BCE. The Etruscans faced challenges on multiple fronts. Syracuse launched attacks in the 4th century BCE, sacking coastal sites and taking over lucrative trade routes. From the north, migrating Celts posed another threat, culminating in defeat at the Battle of Melpum in 396 BCE. Internal strife further weakened the Etruscans. Rivalry between cities, depicted vividly in tomb paintings of local wars, led to abandonment and absorption of populations into larger neighboring towns. As Rome advanced northward, the Etruscan League failed to transform from a religious to a military organization, missing a crucial opportunity for mutual aid. Yet, the Etruscans were no pushovers. The legendary king of Chiusi, Las Porrina, had attacked Rome in the 6th century BCE, proving their resilience. The struggle for control unfolded over 2 centuries, marked by battles, sieges, and the brutal sacking of cities. In 356 BCE, Tarquinia sacrificed Roman prisoners, triggering a retaliatory murder of Tarquinians in Rome. The Etruscans formed alliances against Rome, but Roman victories at Sentinum in 295 BCE and Lake Vadimo in 283 BCE shifted the tide. By 281 to 280 BCE, Roman victories over Tarquinia, Orvieto, and Volsi signaled the end. Etruria fell under Roman control, and once great Etruscan towns became minor Roman settlements. The fighting, however, didn't cease. Etruscan armies joined Rome in the Battle of Talamone in 225 BCE against the Gauls. Yet, as Rome faced internal conflicts, Etruscan cities made the unfortunate decision to side with Marius in the Roman Civil War. The victor, Sulla, sought revenge, sacking cities like Chiusi, Populonia, and Vitellonia in 83 and 82 BCE. The Etruscans, once a proud and warring nation, saw their downfall. Even their rich culture faded into the shadows of a burgeoning Roman world. As the centuries passed, the Etruscans found themselves facing a formidable adversary, the growing might of Rome. Unlike the Etruscans, the Romans boasted a professional army, strategic prowess, and the backing of substantial resources. The Etruscan cities, once rivals, now struggled to unite against this common threat, a weakness that Rome exploited to its advantage. To make matters worse, attacks came from multiple fronts. Migrating Celts from the north clashed with Etruscan forces, dealing a devastating blow at the Battle of Melpum. Meanwhile, Syracuse launched assaults on Etruscan coastal settlements, disrupting lucrative trade routes and plunging the region into turmoil. Internal strife further weakened the Etruscans. Tomb paintings vividly depicted local conflicts, and cities like Aquarasa stood abandoned, their populations absorbed by larger neighbors. Despite occasional victories, such as the legendary resistance led by King Las Porrina of Chiusi against Rome, the Etruscans faced an uphill battle. Battles and sieges raged on for 2 long centuries, marked by brutality and revenge. Tarquinia's sacrifice of Roman prisoners triggered a vicious cycle of retaliation, while alliances with neighboring powers offered brief respite before Rome emerged triumphant at decisive clashes like Sentinum and Lake Vadimo. By 280 BCE, Roman dominance was undeniable. Etruscan strongholds fell one by one, their lands seized, and their once great cities reduced to shadows of their former selves. The Romans established colonies and imposed their rule, marking the end of an era for the Etruscans. Yet, the legacy of Etruria endured in unexpected ways. Despite their defeat, Etruscan armies fought alongside Rome against common foes, showcasing a resilience and adaptability that belied their diminished stature. However, the tides of history were unforgiving. When civil war engulfed Rome, former Etruscan allies found themselves on the losing side, facing the wrath of victors like Sulla, who laid waste to their cities in a merciless display of power. With each passing conflict, the Etruscans faded further into obscurity, their once vibrant culture fading beneath the shadow of Rome's ascendance. Though their legacy lived on in scattered ruins and fading memories, the era of Etruscan warfare had drawn to a close, leaving behind a testament to the enduring struggle for power and the inexorable march of history.